Hey, what's good, everyone? Matt's Music Mind, Matt Miramontes, back here again with another review. This time we're going to be talking about Opeth Heritage. This is a review I've been wanting to do for a very long time, and just for some reason never got around to it until now. This is a record that's really different from the rest of their discography, as it really taps into the beginnings of their prog rock adventure that would then span 2 more albums, and the first time since Damnation where they use clean vocals entirely, which is a major step for a metal band. There's a fading light and a drowning darkness where Opeth sweeps into frame like a ghostly apparition. Heritage becomes this step into the prog-ridden water with clean vocalism, more refined instruments, and a grand refocus on the presentation and pacing that is more synonymous with Heritage. Opeth had their heavier roots in metal, which made them really technical. They move into an entirely new direction, and the daunting melodies and the broader focus create an evil, but almost more gentler Opeth at the same time. It's kind of hard to compare Opeth to their other releases as it is so different, but the incredibly moving and near tear-releasing self-titled piano track that's a solo introduction to Heritage as an album is called Heritage, and it's played along through the grand piano that I think Opeth really used incredibly well to illustrate a sense of this album is going to be very graceful and become very beautiful at times, but there's also this real sense of impending doom behind it as well. And it's this urge to play along with the piano that becomes a sense of remission and perspective on the constantly lurking death and real disparity through their music. Then as they move into I Feel the Dark, the third track for the listing for Heritage, they capture an emotional pull with the darkness behind their style and can replicate that well into their next track and really for the rest of Heritage. They capture this progressive nature that is illustrated well through their past, but turns a new leaf onto several transitions that create these incredibly well-produced and influential moments in Heritage. And the new direction is important for any band, but Opeth is really in full control here, and they have overbearing organs that flood over Ackerdfield as he uses the band to build up a wall of sound around him, but also build them up as well and really feature them as artists as well. It's the instrumentally driven hacks process where the acoustic guitars begin, create the middle breakdown, and then eventually let the electric side kind of flood the track out. And there's a reliance on Heritage on the destruction and on the impending sense as Hack's process begins this slowdown and this gentle upbringing again, and then this dying down that ends the track. And that's even more present on the following track, Famine, which has very heavy reliance on the atmosphere, which is very hellish and almost metallic through the mastering that creates these rattling chains and this jungle-esque percussion that is adventurous almost. It takes the listener and involves them into the record and pulls this curtain over their eyes and makes them imagine what their surroundings are like here. And this metallic environment is really used well when the flutes start to flood in and create a rush of a more heavy Jethro Tull influenced track. And this is even as Opeth begins to fade with Marrow of the Earth. There's a daunting presence behind that lingers as the final notes are being displayed. And Opeth really makes Heritage feel like a substantial product through and through. And there's going to be this real miscommunication, I think, between older fans that really haven't heard this style of prog rock before with them. And the first instrumental track, Devil's Orchard, was kind of a challenge to get over because it was almost overplayed when I first listened to the album. But there's often times when I skip that and I just go right into I Feel the Dark. It captures their sound much better than Devil's Orchard. Devil's Orchard is an incredibly well-driven track, and instrumentally it's incredible. The sense of the album, it doesn't really flow well from the first track, Heritage, into Devil's Orchard, and it feels almost not awkward and not fumbling, but it just doesn't feel quite right there. But Heritage does, in the end, feel like a good extension of their arm and of their artistic ability. The complexity within their musical style allows Heritage to kind of fall into these different animals and really complete this set of changing tides within Heritage and within Opeth and within their future as well. And it's really that final wrap-up of Marrow of the Earth that is just as somber and just as touching in a sense of how the opening instrumental was with Heritage. The beginning journey is something that I always like to recollect on and kind of see where the band started and how they finished, and I think Heritage goes in like a pretty solid wave and crashes at certain points, and it crests in the middle actually, but it's really this sense of just how quick they can be without using the harder and harsh vocals or the real sense of overbearing instrumentation. The only overbearing sense is the atmosphere and the sense of real stress in the music. It's very beautiful, and Heritage is a wonderful album, but I think that it has a lot of changes that people aren't going to be super accepting of at first. And I think when they move on to it and they really listen past The Devil's Orchard and they really start to get into the very musically driven tracks like I Feel the Dark or Famine, where the instrumentals are very odd and very different from what Opeth has been presenting at that time, I think that Heritage is one of their best projects, to be honest, and that's a really brave kind of thing, as so many people do kind of hate on it. But I do think that Heritage is a really good album for the way that it can change the tides a little bit for Opeth and become this new animal within them. So thank you guys for watching, I appreciate it, and I'll be back on Wednesday with another review. Don't forget to check the site for more stuff, more streams. The wall is continually being updated, and I'm trying to work on finding an intro, so